Hey, hi everybody. This is Philip Martin, and this is On Film, the video version. You've been noticing that we actually have brought the On Film print version back for a little while, a limited run while we go through our contributors and our friends of the program's top 10 list for the year 2020, which is concluded, even though, according to the Motion Picture Academy of Arts and Sciences, the 2020 films are still coming out for a little while. So it's made for an interesting dynamic with some people already putting it into the year and some people holding off until they get those last Oscar eligible films, under their belt. So we'll see. But we're going to run, I think, Philip Vandy Price, who's a friend and a very good critic, and another fellow member of the Southeastern Film Critics Association is contributing his list this week, so that's one column I don't have to write, and we'll just put it in there, and we'll let you go with that. I've actually reviewed two movies this week, and both of them are playing theatrically. One is called No Man's Land, and I'm not going to go into the review because the review is right there on the page, and the other is called Our Friend. Not The Friend, Our Friend. I think the story that it was originally based on was called The Friend. And I have a little bit of a problem with that, and I also feel bad about, kind of dogging the movie. It's getting good reviews some places, but it's the sort of movie that really bothers me because I think it contradicts what the source material, what the original story that it's based on was about. And I think it was that original story, which I remember from 2015, an Alabama journalist, Matthew Teague, wrote it about how his wife's death and the friendship, their friend who moved in with them to help them through the period. And it was really sort of an antidote to all these love story type, dying young romance pieces, and it's sort of like was written as an antidote to the movie that it eventually became. And so I'm holding that more against the movie than if I hadn't read the story and I wasn't familiar with the story and I just took it as a fictional, kind of thing. I probably would have had a slightly different reaction. I don't think I would have liked it because I generally don't like those kind of movies. I will say the performances by Jason Segel as the friend, Casey Affleck, who's probably comes off the best, and Dakota Johnson as the dying woman, they're pretty good. I mean, they're in service of a project I don't think is worthy, but they're pretty good. And the director made Blackfish a few years ago, the documentary. And I just don't know how these things go wrong like that. It's sort of interesting because the other film, No Man's Land, you get that title. It's such a generic title. It's been used more than 200 times according to IMDb. And I'm looking at it and I go, well, if you're going to make a film called No Man's Land, you should at least try to make the best film ever called No Man's Land. And they don't, because the best film that I know of called No Man's Land was the Danik Tanovac film from 2001 that won the best foreign language Oscar. And it is a very good film. It's very tense. It's a Bosnian film about the war. And it's a remarkable film. It's really good. It's one of the best of the decade. This is not one of the best of the decade. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's got a good heart. It's got good performances. It's clumsily written in some ways. It's not elegant. It's not as good a movie as I hoped it would be. But there's things I liked about it, and so that's the other review. And I just said I wasn't going to talk about the reviews, but I just did. So, if you don't feel like reading them, then you don't have to. You can just glance at the score and see what we did and go on from there. So what else am I going to talk about this time? Not much else, because we're really sort of in a hurry. We've got lots going on. My class for Life Quest starts on Friday, and as of yet, I haven't finalized. Starts today. In fact, I should be doing it probably while you're watching this, if you're watching it on Friday morning. And as of yet, I haven't finalized my lessons plan. And part of that is because, again, I'm going to be doing it on Zoom, which is a different dynamic than doing it in a classroom where I can just go to the class and I could like show a DVD and I could show something and tell them to look at this and look at that. It doesn't really work that well. From a technical standpoint, I have to figure out that first of all, and then I have to contend with not being able to read the room, which, well, we're getting better at not being able to read the room, I guess, because we are doing it that way, but yeah, anyway. And what else have I? Oh, I've got other kinds. You're not interested. I have other obligations, work-related obligations this week I've got to do. I've got to go through a lot of stuff and look at a lot of stuff and figure out a lot of stuff and write my columns and stuff like that. I have to do my job, basically. It's kind of a drag. So, Movie Style is going to get a short 10-minute video this week. And what I can say about this week at the movies is that I don't know anything else that's opening. I do know that the Tiger Woods thing I talked about last week, part 2, yeah, I mean, I felt kind of creepy and kind of voyeuristic watching part 1, and I've seen most of part 2. We did not get through all of part 2. We will. I mean, it's not like oh, turn that off, that's trash. It's that, oh, we're tired, let's go to bed, and we'll watch that later. But it is really icky. And I really am sort of torn about that because, again, it's good filmmaking in that it arrests you, and you're watching it, and you're interested in it, and it's compelling, drama, compelling story. Tiger Woods is somebody who's fascinating to me, and in whom I sort of recognize certain traits that are common to, those kinds of people who are very, you might feel like you're very competitive, but you're not competitive like that. You might feel that you're disciplined, but you're not disciplined like that. Or maybe you are, but, it's sort of like maybe you're the, I don't know. The Tiger Woods of cable installers. I don't know. I mean, maybe you are, but the chances are you aren't because there are very few people who are built that way. And yeah, it's just fascinating to me. And it's just the video they have and the access they have and the people who they got to come forward. And I haven't looked into how they did this. I don't know whether they paid some of those people, whether those people are coming forward just because they feel like they ought to. I don't know. Or because they're getting paid, or because they want to settle some score, or whatever. I don't know. But I find myself drawn into watching it, and it's this sort of tabloid kind of television. And I really hated the guy from the National Enquirer, the former editor of the National Enquirer on there. So, I guess that a lot of people see that guy, and that's what they think of as the press, or they think of this Tiger Woods documentary as journalism. And it is journalism. It's just not... It's not anything I would do. I've said that a couple times this week in contexts that I find myself, going, yes, you can do that, but you don't have to do that. Just because you think you can doesn't mean you should. But, I'm not arguing their success. They certainly are successful. And I will keep watching these sorts of things. The other thing that I talked a little bit about this in my Tuesday column is this wonderful Swedish show, which we're about to run out of. We Got This, which is about the Olof Palme murder. And it's a fictionalized account of a American expatriate living in Sweden, married to a Swedish woman, working in Sweden, who gets into tax trouble there, which I understand is pretty easy to do and pretty hard to get out of. And he contrives a way of getting out by solving the Olof Palme murder, which is officially, I guess it's been solved. last year, but in 1986 it was open for 34 years. I don't know if they still have the reward money offered. It's like $7 million American. But what's really great about it, it sort of mirrors the actual guy's case, the showrunner, the creator, the star, whose name I cannot remember, and it doesn't sound American, though he is American. It sounds Italian. And I don't remember it. I really don't. I couldn't pronounce it anyway, so I probably would butcher it, but I just can't remember it at this point. But he basically had the same situation as the character in the show, only instead of solving the Palma murder, he came up with the idea of making a series about solving the murder, which is his solution to his tax problem. Okay. So that's a recommended, and I'm finishing up the 12, the Dutch thing on Netflix, and we still have Borgen, which is a wonderful Danish soap opera about the Borgen, which is the Danish ruling parliamentary system. It's about the first female prime minister in Denmark, and it's soapy, and I mean I think it's Game of Thronesy for me. I mean, not that I ever watched Game of Thrones, or at least I didn't watch Game of Thrones past the first torture scene. But that's kind of what it was like, It's sort of, and it's got a lot of people who, if you watch Game of Thrones, you will probably recognize them because they went on to be in that show. I have any other recommendations? I don't know. Probably not. And like I said, we're only going to go about 10 minutes. It looks like we're going to go about 12. So that's enough for this week. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the section. If you have any feedback, please, send me feedback. pmartin@adgnewsroom.com. Click on the video if you like it, and like it or not, leave a comment. Nobody ever does, and I don't care. And we'll see you on the other side. So take care. Later.